Okay folks, now I'm going to be dyeing this leather sheath with 5/8 walnut pro dye. I have myself one of the little puff balls on a metal handle here. This is just a fairly simple process. You want to make sure you get as much dye on in the first coat as possible. Otherwise you'll be left with streaks. And you don't want to have streaks. Just rub it back and forth. This will lighten up quite a bit when it dries, and that's okay. I want to make sure we get this seam very good. And actually, I want this seam to be just slightly darker than everything else. It kind of gives it a faded look. Once I get this thing dyed, I'll let it dry. It doesn't take real long for this stuff to dry. Because it is alcohol based, it doesn't take the stuff real long to dry. Make sure you get all the edges. I use a product called Roslyn, and that is an acrylic sealer. So, because I am a gardener, my products will get wet, and that acrylic sealer helps protect the leather. Alright, that's all the way down there now. I'm going to go over this one more time and fade out the back. A little more dye. We're going to hit the edges. As you can see, I'm not too concerned if my hands get some dye on it. I'm a working man. My hands are always dirty. My fingernails are dirty. I've been out in the garden today building raised beds. So my fingernails aren't clean. I'm sorry, YouTube. Go right over top of those rivets like that. Kind of adds a little bit of patina to them. You see how fast this leather is soaking up. Nice even coats. Let's see, I missed a spot just underneath that lip there. But this is the side that's going to be against your hip anyway. If I miss a spot, doesn't really matter. It's going to wear a little bit anyway. Alright, now we're just going to set this down to dry. That edge right there. I didn't put a welt in this sheath because I didn't feel it needed one. If I'm making a nice sheath for a holster, I put a welt in it, but I didn't feel this needed one. Hit that seam one more time. Like I said, I like the faded look. Yeah, it's my happy little holster. So I'm gonna go ahead and feather this out a little bit and we'll call it good. I'm gonna say that's good enough. Okay folks, we're in the final stages of finishing these sheaths up, and I'm going to go ahead and finish this one up for you and show you how it's done. I took a 3/8 inch hole punch, 3/16 inch hole punch, and I punched my holes after I laid out my clip on the back so I knew where the holes were going to go. I punched it out with 3/16 inch hole punch, and now I have these screw rivets. I'm going to slide these through the holes. I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to take this clip, put it on the back, line up that hole, like so. I'm going to take the screw portion of this rivet, and I'm going to screw it down. Okay. Now we're going to do that 3 more times, and we'll be right back and I'll show you how it's done. Now that we have the clips on and secured, it's time to burnish the edges. I'm going to do this with a little bit of water right here on the edge. Just moisten the entire length of the edge here. And take your burnishing tool and rub vigorously. Now slick that up. Give it a nice finished look. I don't know if you can see that shine. Smooths it out, gives it a shine. I had already done this part before I turned the camera on. I apologize for that. But I'm going to go ahead and do this all the way around on both of these. We'll be right back. Okay, now that we have burnished these last two, the final step is to use 5-Enes Natural Rosaline, which is an acrylic finish, and it helps protect it against moisture and scratches and a few other things. This is one product that I kind of like. I also have used oils before in the past, and they work just fine too. I got some cotton here. I get it super saturated. And then just rub it all over. And yes, it does leave that milky residue. I'll come back in a moment and I'll wipe that up, smooth it out. Make sure you get the sides all the way around. and the back. Then you set this one off to the side to dry. I'm gonna grab some more cotton here for this next one. I found that this will lighten the color of this dye up just slightly, which that's okay. I'm not too worried about the color of it. I just want a little bit of protection from the elements. And you can repeat this process 2, 3, 4 more times if you want. However, for these 4 sheaths, I'm only going to do it once. I come back and I'll essentially feather out the residue. And don't worry if there's a little bit of that milk white stuff sitting on there, it will dry clear. And what you are left with is a product that looks like these two. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. This is how I made a few sheaths to fill a niche that I needed. I wasn't going to spend the $40 to purchase one. And these are custom made water molded sheaths to my pruning shears, so I can keep them snug and handy while I'm working in my garden. Until next time, thanks for watching Ashmore Arboretum, and God bless.